So we are back and trying to squeeze in the last section that I had planned for today, which is section 1.7, linear equations in two variables. So this is an example of a set of coordinate axes, and I drew three lines. I drew L1, which looks like that, L2, which is very steep, and L3, which is actually going in a totally different direction. Why are some lines very, very, kind of normal looking, and some lines very, very steep? Why do some lines go to the right and some go to the other side? That's what we're going to be analyzing today. And there are three things that we need to focus on in today's lesson. The things that make certain lines react in a certain way and other lines react in a different way. And there's really four concepts that we're interested in. One of the most important is called the slope. The slope determines how a line is tilted and what is the angle that is created. For example, here's L1. And in order to get from one point to the other point, we need to go a little bit in the X direction, and then a little bit in the Y direction. We need to know how far we go in the X direction, and that's called delta X. And how far we go in the Y direction, that's called delta Y. Delta X is sometimes referred to as the run, and delta Y is referred to as the rise. You can see why it says that. Rise means to go up, run means to go along level ground. And the slope is defined as being rise over run, or delta Y divided by delta X. And delta Y over delta X means the change in Y divided by the change in X. To go even further, Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1. This is how we define the slope of a line. The slope tells us how a line is going to be tilted. Some lines are tilted like that. Some lines are tilted severely. Some lines go in a totally opposite direction. A line that looks like L1, which looks like this, has a positive slope. A line that goes in this direction has a negative slope. This line has, I don't know, kind of a moderate looking slope, but this line has a very severe slope because, it's very, very difficult to even go from one point to the next. Okay, so the slope is very important. The x-intercept is very important. The x-intercept. The x-intercept is defined as being the point on the x-axis where the line crosses the axis. There's two S's, not one S. Watch my spelling. My spelling is very erratic. So the x-intercept is the point on the x-axis where the line crosses the axis. as opposed to the y-intercept, which as you might imagine, is the point on the y-axis where the line crosses the axis. These are the three main things that we're going to be focusing on: slope, x-intercept, and y-intercept, not just in relation to what we're going to now be doing, but in general, throughout the semester, we're going to be focusing on these three aspects of a straight line. Now, there are different ways you can express a line in the coordinate plane. Forms of the equation. The one we're going to be focusing on the most is that general formula. The general formula for a linear equation. This is the general form of a linear equation in which m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. Take an example. Here are some examples. Okay, so the first thing I'd like to look at is to write the equation of the line whose slope is 3 and whose y-intercept is -7. Okay, everybody do that problem. Well, this is not a difficult problem, so I'm not going to give you like a really long time. You write the general form of the equation, y equals mx plus b. And you substitute. The slope is equal to 3. And the y-intercept is -7. And here's the answer. All we did was substitute. The slope is 3. The y-intercept is -7. And that's how you would do that. Or you could be given a similar problem, which gives you that the equation of a line is y equals -4x plus 3. Find the slope. And the y-intercept. And again, I'm going to give you a few moments to take a look at that problem. And again, that's pretty straightforward as well, because the slope m is equal to the number in front of x. That's the m. So the slope here was 3. The slope here is -4. That's the slope. And the y-intercept would be this number. So that would be equal to 3. Okay, here's the question. Find the equation of the line which goes through the points 6, -5, and 4, 1. And the way you do this problem is to first start with the general form of the equation. And the first thing we do, step 1, is to find the slope. How do you find the slope? Well, remember, I'm going to take you away from this for just a moment to go up here. Here's the slope. y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. So that's the formula that we're going to use. So the slope is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And here are our 2 points right here. So that will be equal to, and you could do this if you'd like, x1, y1, x2, y2. So 1 minus -5, that's subtracting the y's, divided by 4 minus 6, subtracting the x's. Delta y, the change in y, is 1 minus -5, subtracting the y's, and delta x, remember delta y over delta x, the change in x is equal to the second value of x minus the first value of x, 4 minus 6. And this is what I'm now going, what is this? Oh, this is just, I don't know what this is. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, now the toughest part of these problems that students have found is dealing with these sign numbers. Students who are weak with sign numbers have, this is where the problem comes in. So be very careful. Let me rewrite it so we'll be able to modify it if we wish. Well, when you're subtracting 2 numbers, you change the signs and you get 6. And 4 minus 6 is equal to -2. And the slope is 6 over -2 is -3. That's the slope. In other words, knowing that this is equal to m, if we now go to the equation y equals mx plus b, we could say that y will equal -3x plus b. And what we need to do now is figure out the value of b. So we have found the slope. So, this is the general form of an equation, y equals mx plus b. We found out what m is equal to. We substituted it in, but we still have to figure out what b is equal to. How would we go about doing that? Can anybody contribute that? What we do is take the equation and substitute one of the 2 points for x and y. It doesn't matter. I would choose the 4, 1 because there's no, I hate negatives. So, 4, 1 is what I would choose. So let's substitute 4, 1. Y is equal to 1, x is equal to 4 plus b. If we solve this little equation, this will give us the value of b. So 1 is equal to negative 12 plus b, positive 12, positive 12, b equals 13. There it is. There it is. And the answer to this question will be y equals negative 3x. And now we know that b is equal to 13. And there it is. And this is step 2. So step 1 is finding the slope. Step 2 is figuring out what b is equal to, and then putting it all together. And that's what the equation, that was the original question. The original question was find the equation of the line which goes through the points 6, negative 5, and 4, 1. Okay, and we're sort of running out of time, but I would like to give you a problem to do and let you try it on your own. Find the equation of a line which passes through the points 3, negative 4, and 7. Negative 2. I'll give you some time to try that. So, yeah, we don't have a lot of time, and I do want to talk to you at the end of the class, so I need to really move fast on this. So this is the general form of the equation that we're talking about. So this is the slope, this is the y-intercept. We need to find the slope. That's the first step. So step 1 is find the slope. So the slope, which is equal to m, will be equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So, I mean, you could do this x1, y1, x2, y2. And now negative 2 minus negative 4 over 7 minus 3. So once again, negative 2 minus negative 4, okay, and 7 minus 3. Good. Okay, I feel good about that. We're changing the sign. Remember how we do this? We change this sign to positive, change that to positive. I know this is like kind of an algebra topic, but I like to focus on these little things that students tend to get wrong. This comes out to 2, and 7 minus 3 is 4. And you cannot leave it like that, obviously. You have to reduce it to 1/2. So the slope is 1/2. So we now take, so that's step 1. Step 2 is to take that 1/2 and put it back into the equation. So instead of m, we now can substitute 1/2. But now we have to figure out the value of b. So we take one of these 2 points. It doesn't matter which one we take. We take one of these 2 points and we solve for b. And I'm just looking, we're taking half of that number. It would be nice if these were even numbers, wouldn't it? But it's not, so that's the way it is. Let's take this point. So this becomes y equals 1/2 of 7 plus b, where y is equal to -2. Okay, so I'm using the 7 for x. I'm using the -2 for y. And now you have to solve for b. And it's going to come out to a fraction, but you have to get used to that. You have to get used to the concept that things come out to fractions. So half of 7 is, you can make a 7/2 if you'd like. It doesn't matter, really. But I wouldn't, because, we're going to be manipulating numbers here, and I would suggest making half of 7 3.5. Or 3.5 even. You could put it into your calculator as 7/2, and you'll get 3.5. You won't get 3.5. That's fine also. Okay, now we want to solve for b, so -3.5, -3.5 on both sides of the equation. That drops out. We wind up with b equals -5.5. I'm just checking my work. Negative, negative, okay, -5.5. You could leave it like that if you'd like. I don't really care. So I'll tell you why it's important though. 1/2 x plus, well, we could change the plus to a minus now, because the y-intercept is -5.5. And that's really the answer to the question. And you could leave, that's fine. That's fine if you want to leave it like that. Sometimes in this course, we're going to get a problem like this, where it would be more beneficial if you left the 5.5 as 11/2. So instead, this is fine. I would never mark this wrong, what you have here. But there are times in the class coming up where it's beneficial to make this into an improper fraction, because we want to clear the denominators, and that's the best way of doing it. So we multiply everything by 2, and we wind up with 2y equals x minus 11. Okay, let me make sure I did that right. I wanted to get rid of the denominators, so I multiplied everything by 2. I got 2y, I got x, I got 11, and now you bring the x over. We get -x plus 2y equals -11. And what you get actually is a different form of the equation. See, what happens is that this equation, which is fine, is sometimes looked at this way in a better way. You'll see as time goes on. It's hard to say to you, this is also important, without you actually seeing the reason why. But it's sometimes important to express an equation without denominators, and that's how you would do it. Okay, so either this answer or that answer is the correct. This is probably, for what we were doing today, right now, the most important. And a question like that will be on the test. Okay, so any questions?
Professor, this is Valeria. So -5, and then 1/2. Does that become 11/2?
Yeah, because 5.5, 5 times 2 is 10 plus 1 is 11.